Julie Kelly back with us now. She is the author of Declassified on Substack, and she's covering the hearing that's going on with regard to January 6th. Where is the Inspector General report on it? Julie, good to have you back. What can you tell us about what's going on today?
So there was finally testimony today by Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who has been conducting, we are told, an investigation into the DOJ FBI's role in the events of January 6th. Now, every government agency from DHS, Secret Service, Capitol Police, they've all conducted, Department of Defense, they've all conducted these internal inquiries and published a report. The only one missing is the one we want the most, right, which is Department of Justice and FBI. So Michael Horowitz said there is a draft report that is on his desk. He will be reviewing it. It will have to go through the classification process, of course. It will not be released before Election Day and possibly won't even be released until after Inauguration Day. Now, this is, of course, straight-up election interference by the DOJ. He announced opening this inquiry on January 15th of 2021. But what was interesting, Clay and Buck, he told the Weaponization Committee today that he had to put a quote-unquote pause on his internal investigation so it didn't conflict with what he called a criminal investigation. Now, what it appears that he was referring to was the work of the J6 Select Committee. Because, of course, as you guys know, and we talk about all the time, the DOJ's criminal investigation into January 6th is ongoing to this day. They're arresting people every week. So he couldn't have been referring to the Capitol, what they call a Capitol breach prosecution and investigation. He was referring to the J6 Committee. So what the J6 Committee probably told him is to stand down for 18 months, do no investigation or inquiry or research whatsoever, while the J6 Committee was doing their work. Because what he said today is, oh, yeah, we restarted it last year. So that would have been, of course, after the J6 Committee folded. He also indicated that the report will address, and Chris Wray has said this as well, his report will address the use of FBI informants on January 6th, including those who unlawfully entered the building.
Julie, do you get the sense, because I do, that Kamala's team recognized that Jan 6th was played out and that threats against democracy was not resonating with the general election public? Because it feels to me like since Kamala has come in as the nominee, I know she kind of occasionally will drop this was the worst day since Civil War talk that Biden made the sort of footprint or foundation of his campaigns. Does it feel to you like they have sort of recognized that this is blown up in their face, and at best it's not helpful, at worst it actually is encouraging people to vote for Trump?
I think, Clay, the only reason why she has dropped it as an issue is because of her own involvement and her misrepresentations about her whereabouts on January 6th. Remember, she was at the DNC headquarters when the alleged pipe bomb was discovered at about 1:05 that afternoon. She inexplicably left the Capitol after attending a Senate intelligence briefing. She left the Capitol at 11:20, arrived at DNC headquarters at 11:25 when we were told this pipe bomb was sitting right outside of the building. The DHS Inspector General said that she came within 20 feet of this device that the FBI says was planted the night before. But she has consistently misrepresented her whereabouts. She still, to this day in interviews, makes it sound like she was at the Capitol when she was not. And she has never discussed, think about this. This would be a huge talking point for her. I survived a near assassination attempt by a MAGA bomber on January 6th. She never mentions it. She misrepresents her whereabouts and her movements that day. And I do think that that's primarily why she and her campaign have dropped the issue, because she does not want to be confronted about these questions that remain unanswered to this day.
Julie, what are you just mentioned the questions that are unanswered. What do you think we will be able to finally know once this Inspector General report is released? I mean, are there some things that will just be unavoidable and you think will be certain to be confirmed in this?
I definitely think what I've been told is a higher number of FBI informants than, of course, the public has been led to believe but also that has come out in these trials. We know from the trials of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers that the FBI had numerous FBI informants embedded in those groups before and on January 6th. I have reporting that follows a Proud Boy FBI informant who appeared to commit several crimes on January 6th, including going inside the building violently. He was never charged. So I do believe that Horowitz is going to address the number and where these informants came out of. Did they come out of all 56 FBI field offices? Recall that the then head of the Washington FBI field office, Stephen D'Antuono, conducted a survey of all the FBI field offices after he found out that informants were involved in January 6th. Of course, he already knew that, but that was his public excuse. Will Michael Horowitz then reveal the results of that internal survey that was taken? So I definitely think that Horowitz will address that. He also talked a little bit about the pipe bomb investigation, as we were saying, with the DNC. And what came out today is that it appears that all the DNC security footage, not the Capitol Police security footage that we've been releasing and talking about, but the security camera installed outside the DNC, that footage captured on January 6th from the DNC security system has been deleted. The FBI does not have that, and apparently only has a short snippet of security footage from the night before. So here we go, you guys. Again, more deleted evidence. Just the Secret Service texts were deleted from 24 officials related to January 5th and January 6th. So I don't know if I think Michael Horowitz, will address the pipe bomb investigation because the FBI was the lead on that. And of course, here we are nearly 4 years later. No suspect has ever been identified or charged. And of course, the media is completely ignoring this now. But, we have to keep pushing it because, as others have said, the pipe bomb is revealed as a hoax, is what it actually looks like. Then the entire January 6th narrative starts to unravel.
How many FBI agents or undercover officers do you think, if you were setting an over-under, Julie, do you think went into the Capitol that day? Do you think it was 10? Do you think it was 100? Like, what kind of number would you think that if they ever give us, what do you think based on everything that you've seen surrounding this story?
So I think in terms of either informants, which are sources, right? So they're not employees from the FBI, or undercover employees of the FBI, or all of the law enforcement agencies who we know had undercover officers. DC Metro Police, Capitol Police, DHS, Park Police, Secret Service. They all had either plain clothes or sort of these undercover agents. In terms of who was inside the building, probably a few dozen, but it will be, at the end of the day, hundreds of undercover agents or officers or informants from all of these various agencies who were involved, not just the night before, but certainly that day, instigating violence, pushing protesters to do certain things, and probably committing crimes. As I said, at least we know with at least one informant. So there's still a lot to be uncovered, but I think the DOJ IG report, whenever we get it, and to the extent that Merrick Garland doesn't classify that information about informants, will go a long way in finally answering what all of us want to know, and that is how much these agents and officers helped promote and incite what we saw happen that afternoon.
Speaking of Julie Kelly, Declassified is her Substack, which you can subscribe to. Julie, give us the latest on another legal proceeding going on. The Judge Chutkin acceptance of a rather lengthy brief, as I understand it, from Jack Smith, who is very sad over the Supreme Court's ruling. What's going on?
So, Colleen, and I'm just teasing you. Of course, it's not a legal proceeding at all, right? This is a partisan political operation by Jack Smith, but of course allowed by Judge Tanya Chutkin, the Obama appointee with a long record of making anti-Trump statements in her courtroom. So as soon as the Supreme Court ruling in Trump versus U.S., the immunity order was received, they kicked it back to Judge Chutkin. And they kicked it back with a lot of criticism about her initial handling of denying presidential immunity in the entire case. Because, of course, the J6 case relates to conduct by Donald Trump when he was in the White House. So she denied all forms of presidential immunity in her December 2023 order. That is how it got back to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court sent it back to her, took out certain elements of Jack Smith's indictment for J6 and said, you need to conduct what they called a careful evaluation and analysis of what is immune conduct and what is not. And Chief Justice John Roberts actually on several occasions criticized her for failing to do that the first time, for expediting the case and not doing her due diligence. Well, she's doing it all over again. As I said, I was in her courtroom earlier this month. She strode into her courtroom for the new hearing with Donald Trump's team and Jack Smith and his team there, like she had just won a 9-0 victory at the Supreme Court instead of being totally humiliated. So she's doing whatever she can now to get this case. It'll never get to trial, but at least allow Jack Smith to make his case. I called it a paper trial. Make his case before the American people and the media to sort of salvage his case and try to explain why the remaining elements of his new indictment are not covered by presidential immunity. He is going to file a 180-page brief tomorrow. It will be under seal. Judge Chutkin called this brief irregular, and this brief will exceed the normal page limit by 4 times. Usually, I think, 40 or 50 pages. So this is going to be a trial, basically his trial document, his opening arguments that he would have given in a jury trial that he'll never have a chance to do that. It will contain grand jury testimony, we're told. It will have 302s from the FBI. He will be laying out this case with no opportunity for Trump's team to respond except weeks later and again in a separate filing. So this is just, again, so partisan, so unfair, so against the rule of law and due process. But Judge Chutkin wants to thumb her nose at the Supreme Court, at Donald Trump, and she has and continues to greenlight whatever special counsel Jack Smith asks for.
How excited, Julie, would you be to be having a live feed of Jack Smith if Trump wins on November 5th? Wouldn't that be amazing footage? I mean, you would know better than anybody. I mean, the guy has spent thousands and thousands of hours trying to nail Trump. He's gotten rejected at every direction he's gone.
Right.
And if Trump wins, years of his life have basically just gone up in smoke. Am I wrong, or would you not love to have footage of Jack Smith I don't know if bourbon's his drink. I don't know if vodka's his drink. I don't know if he's just a straight water guy. But him just fulminating with rage, like Julie, would be, I would pay. I would pay for a live feed, I'm going to be honest, of Jack Smith cam.
Remember the video of Ben Rhodes outside of, where was it, the Travis Center or whatever? Remember the video of him outside, and they did a montage with Hello Darkness, my old friend, and Ben Rhodes could really explain, like that would be Jack Smith. And yes, I would pay to do it because, look, Jack Smith is a stone cold loser. He has a horrible record as a prosecutor. The Bob McDonnell prosecution, the first Robert Menendez, the John Edwards case. He has been rebuked by the Supreme Court 3 times this year. In the Trump case, in the Fisher case with 1512c2, and rejecting his unusual call to bypass the appellate court and take the immunity question directly to the Supreme Court. You would be hard-pressed to find a bigger loser in DOJ's prosecutor history than Jack Smith. And keep in mind, too, Judge Cannon dismissed his case in July, the classified documents case in Florida, saying that he was unconstitutionally appointed, that his appointment by Merrick Garland violated the appointments clause of the Constitution. So he can't get a win anywhere, which is why Judge Chutkin is doing whatever hand-holding she possibly can, breaching normal court rules to let him file this brief. And try to salvage, at least publicly or in the media, this case, because it's going nowhere after this. Even if Trump loses, it's going nowhere.
Julie, I would give him one win because I would pay $25 for a live feed of Jack Smith crumpled up in the fetal position crying if Trump ends up winning, because he's just wasted years of his life. And as you pointed out, not even in an insult, he is one of the biggest losers in the Department of Justice history by results in court. That is phenomenal. Julie, we appreciate all the work. We appreciate all the time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Julie Kelly, look, if you don't want to be a loser like Jack Smith, if you don't want to be a loser like Joe Biden, if you don't want to be a loser like everybody who works by and large at MSNBC and is male, you might need some testosterone in your life. And testosterone comes as the engine that drives the male performance, gives you energy, vim, vigor, vitality to go about your day. All you need to do is go to chalk.com. Check it out. Male Vitality Stack. You know that your testosterone is about 50% of what your granddad or your great-granddad's testosterone level was. And that explains why many men are voting for Kamala Harris, because they legitimately don't have any testosterone. Do you want to be a Kamala voter? Do you want to walk around like a zombie like Joe Biden? No, you want to have testosterone. You want to have vigor. You want to be a man, and that's what Chalk can do. CHOQ.com. It's all natural herbal supplement. And if you got questions, and I know some of you do, you're like, I don't like being on the internet. I'd prefer to make a phone call. How about 50-CHALK-3000? That's 50-CHALK-3000. The U.S.-based customer service team will give you the best deal on a subscription out there. Just use my name, Clay, C-L-A-Y. Get hooked up today. Put some energy back in your life with testosterone through Chalk.